Hey, so here we are for the October forecast, October 2023, I should say. It's a busy month. It is a busy month. And the way we could think about this, more or less, is that August and September did not have a lot of celestial activity. And then October is sort of off the charts with it. Starts pretty quickly in October. Now, that doesn't mean that August and September were not busy times. It doesn't mean that we weren't doing things. First of all, each of us individually has all kinds of transits to our charts and things like that. And collectively, we also have, at the very least, we're walking out some of the things that we have set up beforehand. And there's been all kinds of conflicts. And it's not like life stops or anything like that. But what happens when we don't have a lot of prickly celestial weather is that we don't get a lot of new stuff on the table. And we're going to get a lot of new stuff on the table this time around. So let's jump into the October forecast. Really, we're going to have to unpack this week by week because there's just too much going on this month. I'm leaving out all kinds of things that you would completely forget about. There's no functionality if you're going to forget about what's going on. So we're just going to stick to some of the highlights. Pluto has his fingerprints all over the month of October. Everything is sort of referenced to Pluto, more or less, even sort of tangentially. But the first week of the month, we start out with a very mercurial week. That means this and that, which is very appropriate for Mercury, I suppose. So what we have as we start the week is Mercury opposite Neptune. And Mercury opposite Neptune is like Mercury retrograde on steroids. It is just too much of flexibility when it comes to information, too much of not being precise. Mercury's in Virgo, where he's got very precise information, but Neptune is in Pisces, was willing to interpret that in a very, let's call it, open kind of way. All right, so that's how we start. Mercury goes on then to trine Pluto, right? And that sort of suggests that we can sort of sort things out a little bit. And then Mercury leaves on the 4th and gets into Libra. So confusion, a little determination, and then Mercury's gone into Libra. Now, Mercury is zipping along. It was retrograde recently, but Mercury is zipping along this month. He will go through Libra in only about 18 days, wading into Scorpio on the 22nd. So he's between the 4th and the 22nd, he's in Libra. Good for negotiating, taking the other person's perspective, seeing what's going on, diplomatic kind of energy. Mars is there for a little while. The sun is there for most of the month. That will kind of help things up until the 22nd or so when things start to shift. So that's the first week of the month. A little confusion. We try to get it sorted out as we head towards that weekend. When we start getting into the second week of the month, it is very, very intense. We have, first of all, on the 8th, Mars squares Pluto. Mars squaring Pluto is a recipe for tension and potential release, except for the fact that Mars is in Libra, and there's likely to be a little bit more, let's call it passive aggression with Mars in Libra square to Pluto. There's, somebody's digging for the truth. Somebody is ready to act, but is it going to be done so directly, or is it going to be done, Pluto doesn't mind being a little under the table and do things a little surreptitiously. And Mars in Libra is a little bit less than direct. So, the good thing is it's more likely to be a terse memo than, somebody like, cracking you across the jaw. That's a good thing. But it is definitely tense, especially because Pluto is stationing on the 10th. Now, Pluto stations for a couple of days before, let's say the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and like a day after, the 11th, maybe the 12th. What we have is a sort of implosive energy, right? This is sort of implosive energy, a little bit of like, things are tense and I'm not quite sure what we're going to do about it. There's a lot of irritability goes around when there's a Pluto station. On a collective level, this can really signal some changes. It could really signal some changes in the financial world. Pluto's station in September of 2008 was a major turning point, and his station last October kind of signaled changes. And we have this year, and then we actually have another one next year. We're going to have to see how this plays out, but there is definitely a kind of who has the power struggle kind of thing going on. So kind of keep our eyes on. This is like 27 degrees. It's very close to the US Pluto, so it's like a reminder of the United States Pluto return. It's just a tense energy individually for a couple of days, signaling maybe some bigger changes in the collective over the course of the next few months. Then on the 14th, we have a solar eclipse. The 8th, we have this aspect that carries over to the 10th with Pluto station. And if we're just starting to brush that off, on the 14th, we have the solar eclipse at 21 degrees of Libra. Now, if you happen to have some important placements at 21 degrees Libra, this is for you, right? This is for you. This is a powerful ending and beginning. Maybe something will happen on the 14th or thereabouts, but maybe not. Maybe not. It's entirely possible that this is only going to unfold over time. I mean, eclipses are new moons. A solar eclipse, again, it feels like a Pluto station. It's that implosive, drawing in kind of energy. Not necessarily the case that anything happens at that time. It's just, it's just you're seeding something powerful. You don't know what it is. So, but that's if you have something right at 21 degrees of Libra. You got something at 23 or 17 degrees of Libra. Well, you may feel, the lightning striking the neighbor's house, or hopefully the tree of the neighbor's house. It's not like hitting you, but you feel it. It's the bullet whizzing by the head kind of thing. It's terrible. I shouldn't say things like that, but it is the sense that like it's coming near and it's missing you. But for everybody, from the 8th through about the 15th, we've got this tension. I mean, we're already in eclipse season from the full moon on September 29th all the way through the new moon that follows in November. I think it's November 4th. We're in eclipse season. We're already feeling the tension, but it's centered and it's concentrated between, let's say, the 8th and the 15th. It's a really tense kind of week. Give other people space, take what space you need for yourself. It's not we're not going to turn this into a disaster or anything like that. It's just to be aware of the fact that other people may be a little bit more tense. There may be, less cooperation on the roadway. There may be some tension with coworkers and family members, and potentially you might feel a little bit bent out of shape yourself. It's good to remind yourself, oh, it's the second week of October. There's a lot of tension in the air. It's not necessarily like I have to own it. I got to like buy into this. It's there. I don't have to buy into it. And it's going to pass off, and sooner or later, Pluto will let us go for a little while. Probably not on the 20th and the 21st. So let's say, remember all of these aspects, they build in the days before and then they trail off. So, the 19th to the 22nd, when the Sun and Mercury both square Pluto, they're at the end of Libra, sort of holding up the flag for being diplomatic. And Pluto's in Capricorn, still barely moving, still stationed and powerful. And we have, again, an opportunity for conflict, an opportunity for negotiation. Though the Sun and Pluto have an interesting kind of relationship, because Pluto is the sort of power broker, but the Sun is the central force, right? I mean, if the Sun wasn't there, Pluto would just be a rock spinning off into space. It's the challenges between the king who wants to build a new room in the palace or something like that, and the financiers who are going to give the money to do this. It's that kind of a thing. Of course, in the US, we're experiencing that a few weeks early, but you get the idea. It is exactly that kind of energy. Power struggles are a bit of a possibility around this time, too. On the 23rd, the sun moves into Scorpio, leaves Libra for Scorpio, Pluto's sign. Right? Pluto, 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 Pluto. I mean, it's Halloween month, right? I mean, it's very appropriate that we have a lot of Pluto kind of thing that goes on. That's what we're looking for with this. That's my thumbnail for this was the Dia de los Muertos skull. That's October. It's appropriate. It's appropriate for this season of the year. Anyway, the sun goes into Scorpio every year anyway. But when the sun goes into Scorpio, of the 10 major planets, we have none in fire and none in air. We have earth and water, only earth and water from the 23rd on to the end of the month. Well, the moon will make some exceptions, but on the 23rd and going forward, we have none of the major planets in fire or air signs. What does that mean? Well, fire is inspiration, enthusiasm, right? Spiritedness. And so we'll have to bring our own. You got to bring your own enthusiasm. You can have plenty of it, but you got to bring your own. It's not like the skies are going to be giving it to you. But air is perspective, being able to share ideas, being able to see what the other person is saying. Now, again, if you are a Libra, if you have a lot of air planets, if you got stuff in your third and seventh houses, your 11th house, you're great with this stuff anyway. It's not like you're not going to have the ability to take perspective. But other people might have some challenges. And the collective mood is not one of taking a broad view of things. The collective mood is not going to be one of, open and, let's experiment. Let's see. It's more retracted. It is more condensed, right? It's not this open feeling. It's not like, what's the next thing? It's conservative. It is protective. A lot of Scorpio. We're going to have lots and lots of planets in Scorpio. We'll have the sun and Mercury in Scorpio. The moon will go through Scorpio. Venus is in Virgo. It's earth and water. Earth and water, you can make mud. It's good for practical stuff, though. It is good for practical stuff. You can make pottery with earth and water. You can make bricks with earth and water. It's a concrete, down to earth kind of energy, which is maybe not the worst thing. If we have too much fire in this mix, then we might really wind up going off half cocked on something. Speaking of which, on the 29th, we have the lunar eclipse that follows, right? That's the full moon lunar eclipse on the 29th. Now, was it 28th? Yeah, it was the 29th. Full moons are always a little bit of, recipes for lunacy. And this one will be no different. The fact that there is no planet, there are no planets in fire or air, doesn't really make that much of a difference. It is a intense, open up, things are revealed kind of energy. And it's especially so because Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter will all be in tight aspect with each other. So Mercury, communication, but he's in Scorpio. Mars, action, but he's in Scorpio. And of course, the cosmic warrior in the sign of Scorpio, it's his own home sign. He's very happy there, but he plays defense. This is about defending. This is about saying, you're not coming in here. He's in Scorpio from the 12th onwards. And so Mars playing defense. It's that protective, up on the battlements, and not really being open to things. And then there's Jupiter. Jupiter's out in Taurus, right, opposing these planets. And Jupiter in Taurus is a little bit more like, let's have some fun, but is ramping up this protectiveness of Mercury and Mars. So Most things hopefully will remain on the verbal level, but it is a very intense. Now, if you have something to say, this is a great time to say it. If you're not sure what you want to say, this is a bad time to just start blurting out whatever comes into your mind, because it's not like you're really going to be thinking clearly. If you know what you want, you don't have to think clearly if you already made your decision beforehand, right? Then you don't, then you just have to act. You don't have to think clearly at all. But if you need to make a decision, I wouldn't say it was the absolute best energy. Here's an interesting thing about this lunar eclipse. This is interesting. We'll have to revisit this in December, though, because we're going to forget. This eclipse is at 5 degrees of Taurus. Again, if you have something at 5 Scorpio or 5 Taurus, that's a little extra special for you. But it's at 5 Taurus, which is the same degree that Jupiter will station to go direct on December 30th. It's not the only thing either. There's been in the various charts, we've had a lot of stuff landing around 5 degrees Taurus. Those of you that have placements at 5 Taurus are likely to be really feeling this. Okay, that's the major events of the month. There are some harmonious events. Venus makes some harmonious trines, for example, to Jupiter and Uranus. And there are other things that are going on, interesting things. Again, that has to be covered in the weekly forecast because they're going to just get lost in the noise. Now, I know that this forecast is full of things that have to do with Pluto and eclipses and tensions and things like that. A couple of important points, sort of made them already. I'm going to just sort of drive them home. Most of this stuff plays out at the collective level, which is good because it's not so personal, but it's not so good because, after all, that we live in the collective. It's not like it's something that's going on television. It doesn't affect us. We live there, so it really makes a difference. The other thing is you need to be mindful of what is going on and what folks will be doing and the mood that you're likely to be encountering. The mood in other people and the mood in yourself. You don't need to buy into the darker side of things. And finally, any of this energy can come out in quite positive ways. It really is. It's about making changes, and we don't like that as human beings. We're always a little hesitant about change, and with all the scorpionic energy around, we're even maybe a little bit more. There's a lot of fixed energy too. It could be a little bit difficult to go through. It doesn't mean that the outcome is in any way going to be bad. It doesn't mean the outcome is going to be bad. So you're looking to see what's going on in the collective. You're encountering moods in yourself and others. You're looking at events that are likely to be significant, but not necessarily bad. Not necessarily bad. Probably not. Probably not. At the end of the day, we'll be back here at the beginning of November for the forecast for that month, and we'll be saying, well, it was quite a tense month, but we'll still be here drinking our coffee and doing stuff like that. So, this is not any sort of invitation to spend the month of October hiding under your bed, which is sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to stay in bed this whole month. No, first of all, the planets will find you under the bed. I mean, if you spend your month of October under the bed, you're just going to run into a big spider. That's all. It's not like not like the planets can't find you. So let's see if anybody has anything to say. Teresa is here and says hi. And Stephen the Jupiterian. I'm a Jupiterian. I love that. It's good. Hi. Visiting family. Well, visiting family is always a Plutonian experience, I think. Sagittarius rising. Those I thought were friends are bringing tension. Well, maybe they are friends. Friends bring tension. The good thing about friends is that we manage to, typically we manage to keep them despite the tensions, as opposed to, more intimate relationships or even jobs where, you have it could be a little extra. Natal Uranus at 2131 Libra. Well, there's a lot of people that have that. That would be it. I would look at that as being a new beginning in this is going to incite you to your personal independence, right? This is personal independence is a whole new level of I got to do my thing. That's really good. I mean, again, it probably going to probably take a little while to get this stuff moving, but it's good. You love Scorpio season. Huh. Well, okay, your ruling planet in Jupiter, then yeah, it's like it's that kind of comfortable. It's the sort of it's like the inverse of the Nightmare Before Christmas, right? This would be like it's like Santa Claus doing Halloween. Not bad. Um, Saturn at 4 Taurus. Wow, so you're really getting hit by everything. Well, we'll see. We'll find out next month how that played out for you. Um, let's see, sneaks in. Yeah, North Node is at 4 degrees Taurus. Yeah, I mean you've had your nodal return already. This is close. This is close. So it's a really good example. The eclipse land, and it's a lunar eclipse too, right? Landing close to your nodes. It's you feel it pretty intensely. Is it going to do anything? Well, it's not going to do anything to you. It's going to do anything with you. Perhaps uh, look to the house that your nodes are in and be aware that when we have eclipses or when anything transits the nodes, it's often the case that people come in and go out of your life. It could be like, the 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 guy who was your barista at the coffee shop in the morning leaves the job and somebody else comes in. I mean, you used to have a couple of nice words, and then it could be something like that. It could be, co-workers making entrances and exits and things like that. This eclipse, the good thing about a lunar eclipse is you'll know right away, right? Solar eclipse, we're seeding something. We'll see what happens. It's going to take a while, probably. Sometimes it happens right then and there, but usually it plays out maybe in like 9 months when you get the first quarter moon at the same degree. That's when something happens. But when it comes to lunar eclipses, if something's going to happen, it's right there. It's right there. You don't have to wait. It's a full moon, and with this one, with the Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury, heating things up, you don't need to wait anything. That ought to be a really charged time. It's right before Halloween too. Let's see here. Big inspections, big reincarnation inspections. Raising a mixed bag. Well, everything's a mixed bag. Thoughts about the government shutdown? It's really bad that it's happening next to the Mercury-Neptune opposition. And it comes after the full moon on September 29th, which kind of charges the air. We're going to do our thing. And a little of the passive aggressiveness of Mars and Libra. But then we get this, that Mercury-Neptune is just, nobody's looking at the facts correctly. It'll be people were trying to sell stories that are just and in this case maybe overtly being a little deceptive or just bending the truth. So it'll be a bit of a mess. I'm hoping it doesn't happen at all. I'm hoping that our legislators can rise above the planets. If not, I would think that maybe the Mercury-Pluto trine on the 3rd would be hopeful. Both finished nodal reversal, 10th house. Well, that would be then you'd be looking at maybe changes in people that you work with or the place that you work, things like that. Sometimes maybe your supervisor takes up and leaves, or or clients take up and leave, or new clients come in. But it's always the nodes, transits to the nodes tend to switch things around. It changes the cast of characters. It doesn't eliminate the position. It just changes the person who's filling it. It's, you know, so and so is no longer playing shortstop. Somebody else comes in to take that role, but you know, your team still has a shortstop. So, you know, it depends how you feel about it. It's usually stuff that doesn't make that much of an impression. It's an eclipse, so it may make a little bit more. Is there a better time this month for an appointment with my astrologer? I need some clues about sudden work opportunities. Well, let me check my schedule. Making kind of a giant assumption there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I think that, you know, Monday the 2nd is not a great day for this kind of thing. I don't have any I do have clients scheduled. I have an important meeting scheduled on Monday. I would be careful about that, but I've done my homework beforehand, so it's just a delivery kind of thing. But no, you know, during tense times, you know, they're tense times. It doesn't, you know, it shouldn't rule us around, right? We don't want to be ruled around by any of this stuff. We want to be able to go about our business in a reasonable way. You know, it's the same. It's just like the weather. You know, here in the Northeast, it's been raining for like a week and a half and so on. Um, you have to take that into account. You have to, you know, plan your day around it, in the sense of, if I wanted to go have a picnic, this would require considerable adaptation. So maybe it's better to wait. But on the other hand, if I was, you know, bound and determined to have a picnic in this pouring rain, you know, I'd get a tent and some tarps and make it happen. You know, this stuff should not derail us. Health issues. Don't talk to me. Don't. I want everybody to be healthy. And as for astrologers, there are some very good medical astrologers, but in my opinion, the astrologers tend to live a short distance from their body, and not necessarily. There are exceptions, but not necessarily the best group to be talking about physical stuff. It's my own. It's my own opinion. Um, Hopeful sounds about right. Yeah. Well, hopeful is about the best you can do most of the time, right? And then stuff happens, and then we deal with it, and then more stuff happens, and then we deal with it, and so on. You know, it's just that's just it's always something, you know. There's always going to be something. It helps to know. Again, new stuff comes on the table. New stuff comes on the table with the kind of activity that we have here, with the Pluto station, with the eclipses and things like that, these aspects. New stuff comes on the table. That's what the difference is. We have to deal with some of the old stuff. It could be much worse. We got to remember that. This is a great month, though. This is the month of Halloween, and this is a great month for getting in touch with, well, if you have any shadow work to do, I suppose this would be a really good. This would be a really good time to do that. You may find you have more shadow work to do than you realize. But it is also kind of, it's a very spiritual time. It is a good time to, you know, go within and look and see what's happening on the inside, as opposed to what's going on the outside. You got to deal with what's going on the outside, but maybe place a little bit more emphasis on your own internal state, and connecting with spirit or spirits or anything like that. This is a good time for that, and that's really what this month is about in a positive sense. I hate to say that 28 minutes in, because I know a lot of people watching the recording are not going to get that part, but what am I going to do? Okay, so we're just at about the half an hour mark, and that's about as long as that. That's a big enough chunk of any one month for us to be spending on anything. So thanks for the people who came to watch live and ask some questions. And we'll be back at the end of September, at the end of October, for the next one. And in the meantime, catch the weekly forecast. You should subscribe, because then you'll get the weekly forecast. And we'll do special. I'll do. What do I say? We. It's the royal we. I'll do specials for the Pluto station and the eclipses. And there's also videos to watch on the eclipses themselves. All right. Go spend the rest of your Saturday, or whatever day you're watching this, doing stuff you love. Bye.